So, perfection. It's a weird word to think about because it could be one of two things. Perfection, in its technical terms, would mean something that is flawless, that has no flaws, that has nothing wrong with it, that is perfect. Whereas nowadays, perfection could also be looked at as something with a lot of flaws, something that is normal, but that rolls with the punches and keeps going with the flaws. Some people might deem that perfect. Now, given the certain context, perfection could mean different things, but we're going to go for the technical term of perfection, something that is flawless. Can something be perfect? Can a game be perfect? Well, you've clicked on this video knowing the title and knowing the thumbnail. I think you know what my answer to that is yes. Now, why do I think Portal, I haven't said the name of the game yet, why do I think Portal is a perfect game? Am I wrong? I'm going to get into the details of this game and why I think that it is a perfect game and one of the only perfect games out there. So stick around and we'll find out together. So, Portal. Let's talk a bit about the backstory of this game before we get into what it actually is. Portal is what I like to call the little game that could. Why is that? Well, let me tell you. Portal is released by Valve. Valve are the people behind Steam, the biggest gaming store out there right now. They made Half-Life, Half-Life 2, the 17 episodes of Half-Life 2, the recently released Half-Life 3. They were behind Team Fortress and Team Fortress 2. Valve started off as this indie-ish company, and now they're this behemoth among gaming companies. Now, they haven't released as many big-name games, but they're still around. They're still a prominent figure. Now, at the time, Valve released Half-Life 2, and they released Team Fortress 2. One of their two biggest games even till today. Now, Valve were like, you know what, we're going to pump up the sales. Let's make a bundle. Okay, and this bundle ended up being one of the most known bundles in all of history. And it was called the Orange Box. The Orange Box contained Team Fortress 2, Half-Life 2, and Portal. Now, Portal at the time was just there. It was just an extra bit of the Orange Box. And people didn't know what to expect from it. And little did Valve know that it would become what, in my opinion, is their best game that they've ever made. And one of the best games ever made. By one of the best games ever made, I mean it is legitimately within my top 10 best games ever made list. Which is a very difficult list to keep up to date, but Portal ended up being, in my opinion, the best game in the Orange Box, the best game that Valve ever made, and a fantastic game, and dare I say it, a perfect game. Now that I gave that a little bit of an introduction, let's get into what this game actually is. You play as... You see, I don't want to spoil anything about this game. You play as a female protagonist, and you're kind of a test subject, and you're given multiple tasks to complete. They're kind of puzzles with a portal gun. This portal gun shoots portals, two, to be precise. One that's blue, one that's orange, just so you can differentiate the portals. You go through one, you come out the other. Very simple idea, except it gets insanely complicated the more you play. The game is relatively short, given that Valve didn't give it much importance. They were like, it's just an extra bit, it's just an extra game. People aren't going to care. But people really did care. You see, perfection in the technical term would be no flaws, and I think that this game has no flaws. You see, the story is fantastic, which I'm not going to spoil. The characters in this game are fantastic. They're few, but they're there, and they're fantastic. The antagonist is superb. Such a fantastic character. We can talk about GLaDOS, right? GLaDOS. One of the more prominently known antagonists in video games. Definitely one of the best characters in video games. So much is unraveled, so much is hidden behind this game's story. So much lore is there. And you can do your own research because there's so much there to unravel. And the gameplay is just phenomenal. A first-person puzzle game at the time wasn't exactly a common idea. The idea of a first-person puzzle game wasn't. I don't think it was even properly introduced at the time. It was probably introduced at some point, but not in a major way that it was with Portal. the game was so fantastic that people just started making their own mashups of the game, let's say. There was a Super Mario game where they added Portal to it. There was the Bridge Builder game where they added portals to it. Now, not all of them were great, but there was still shows you the impact of how that game and how fantastic that game was. Why is it perfect? I cannot find a single flaw, even graphically. When I say graphics are perfect, you can't... How do I say this? Graphics are impossible to have be perfect because they're always evolving. Even Microsoft Flight Simulator, which people are finding to be one of the best looking games ever, I really agree. 10 years' time, it's gonna look like Lara Croft's polygonal boobs. Graphics are constantly evolving. That in mind, at the time, Portal had fantastic graphics. And the gameplay is fucking there, the puzzle aspect's there, the characters are there, the story is there. There are no flaws in this game. Absolutely none. The only quote-unquote flaw I could possibly find, or you could possibly imagine and think of, is the lack of importance which Valve gave it. Which is not the case, actually, because Valve didn't know how much of an amazing game that they made. Then they made the sequel. The sequel I consider to be dog shite. The base game is still there, but they added microtransactions. They fucked up the whole thing. Microtransactions are in-game purchases, for those of you who are unacquainted with the technical term. They fucked up the experience, basically. It's not a terrible game, but it's a flawed, heavily flawed game. I would take Portal 1 over any Valve game and a lot of games any fucking day. It's such a fantastic game. Yes, it is a perfect game. No, you will not change my mind. Not because I'm an aggro kid that's fully focused on my opinion, not willing to take other people's views on it, but this game is not flawed in any way. It is the perfect game. It is not, however, the best game ever made. That is another topic for another day. How can a perfect game not be the best game ever made? We'll get into that in next week. So long story short, Portal is the perfect game because it has no flaws. Absolutely none. I can spend 30 minutes at the very least talking about what this game is, how much shit is hidden behind this game. If I were to start to talk about the story and everything that's unraveled behind it, I wouldn't be able to stop. It is such a fantastic game. I highly recommend you all get it because it's a classic and it's one of the best games that you will ever fucking play. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for indulging in what I had to say. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you're enjoying my content. Twitter and Discord are in the description as always. And I will see you guys in the next video. As always, stay safe. Peace.